What's up, guys? Ryan here, doing another Think, Learn, and Be Vulnerable vlog. And today I want to talk about my experiences with pickup artistry and the seduction community. Um, about 12 years ago, maybe 13, there was a fairly popular TV show on VH1 called The Pickup Artist. And this dude, Mystery, with his friends Matador and I think Style, I want to say, British pickup artist guy. They taught a bunch of freaking guys that we would consider to be nerds to pick up women. To so they would go to clubs, nightclubs, usually, not always. Sometimes they would go to like stuff during the daytime, cafes and bookstores and stuff like that. But for the most part, it was nightclubs and talk to women and try to get to sleep with them. And you know, I remember going into the show thinking, seems interesting, but what are they really going to teach them? Come on. These guys are lame, and quite frankly, the pickup artist guys, they look stupid. It was kind of a joke. I really just wanted to sort of watch people crash and burn and get a vicarious thrill out of it. But I was actually kind of surprised at the stuff they were saying. I was completely blown away by one, how good these guys were at actually getting to talk to women. And I was having major problems with that at the time. But also not only how confident they were, but how much confidence they instilled into these dudes who were, really not that attractive at all. And how much confident they got. It was shocking. And I looked into it. I'm no longer ashamed to admit I bought products, I listened to what they were saying, and I put a lot of it into practice. And I'm going to open the curtain a little bit, but the pickup artist idea, at least their particular method, was to have a series of small scripts. They call them can lines, which basically means you have it in the can and you can pull it out whenever you want. So it's like just lines ready to go. And if you're talking to a girl and you didn't know what to talk about, you could whip it out. And they had it set up in terms of like your interaction with somebody, what to do to start talking to them, what to do after a couple of minutes, what to do if you start to feel like the conversation is lagging, what to do if you feel like things are going good and you want to take it to the next level. And so they had lines for everything. And so what was really great about this is the first time I'd actually seen a somewhat scientific, somewhat systematic approach to approaching, to going up to a girl and talking to them. And they broke down a lot of things. And the science behind it, after doing more research on it, I've come to find it wasn't necessarily based on really sound science, but it has its roots in rudimentary psychology, and a lot of it worked. I was really shocked. A lot of it worked, and I gained a lot more confidence out of it, and generally had a pretty pleasant experience with it. But I was very keenly aware of the downsides to it too, mostly because a lot of the techniques that I had learned, I had used already in a earlier part of my life when I was going through major depression and I was just trying to scam on girls to feel good about myself. And it was a really dark time in my life, and I'm ashamed of a lot of my actions during that time. But for the first time, by taking this pickup artist systematic approach, I felt like I could actually do some good with it. I felt like I'd actually try to make myself happy and actually meet people, because at the time I had no friends. And if I met somebody, I very often turned them off for whatever reason. I didn't know why. Not only did I have no friends, I lost whatever friends I had before then. So for about 2 years or so, I was practicing. Collected a group of friends after a few months or so, and we, started hitting nightclubs and stuff, and we started going to clubs, and we met girls, and we made friends, and then we started rolling 20 deep into the nightclub, and we became club kids for a couple of years. And it was fun. But man, it's really hard. I don't know if y'all have been to nightclubs, but it's incredibly difficult to actually talk to people. But I got pretty good at it, But I found myself not really using it to actually sleep with anybody. It was more just like, I want to make friends. And I became pretty darn good at making friends with strangers. And that's kind of all I used it for. Yeah, I mean, slept with the occasional girl, but once I struck up conversations with them, I think that would have been a natural conclusion. We were just really attracted to each other. And I don't think pickup artistry made it easier for me to sleep with her per se. Like we would have slept with each other anyway, just in terms of attractiveness, levels of attraction to each other. But what it did do is it gave me the confidence to go for it. And it also made places where I would potentially slip up, it gave me something to say and something to do in those spots. And so what ended up happening is my level of success increased significantly, mostly because I wasn't sabotaging myself. I wasn't blowing at myself. I wasn't talking and then having these places where I didn't know what to say. Sometimes I would pause for dramatic effect. I knew how to do that. It's the first time. I was also really innocent. Even through it, I tried to keep my innocence. I tried to make sure that I was doing it for good, or at least what I perceived to be good. And I'm happy to say that it never got to the point to where I was viewing women as objects, and that's the underbelly of this thing, because these techniques can be manipulative and they can dehumanize women. And unfortunately, a lot of people in the pickup artist seduction community are pretty much misogynists. If they do have sex, it's very impersonal. They oftentimes are very repellent. They feel like they have an agenda. They feel very inauthentic. And honestly, they kind of prey on women that are vulnerable just for their own sexual satisfaction. And even then, they don't get it. A lot of times, sex is portrayed as a goal, but not as something to take pleasure in. It's more about putting a notch on the bedpost. It's really unfortunate, because there's a lot of good that can come out of these techniques. There's a lot of good that can come from instilling confidence in men. But the thing is, you have to also instill good moral values, at least relative moral values. You can't just give people a bunch of tools and not tell them how to use it. And especially, you can't give them all these tools and not tell them why to use it and what's the best way to use it. I was lucky in a sense that I had a pretty good moral compass going into this. A lot of people don't. Now you could say that, oh, well, you can't really blame the pickup artist community for that. Anybody can buy the books. And what I would say to that is, where was the section on ethics and moral usage of this stuff? That's the problem. A lot of the stuff taught technique, but didn't teach you why to use it. It didn't really teach you about how to have fulfilling relationships after you picked up the girl. Most material ended after having sex for the first time, and that was it. And therein lies the problem. It's incomplete. There's so much more to building a life with somebody, to building a relationship with somebody, than just having sex with them for one time. And that's where the pickup artistry and seduction community fall flat, is because they've never looked beyond sex and looked beyond one night stands. They're creating a bunch of people where they achieve their goals and they're dissatisfied and they don't know what to do with them. And that leads to a lot of anger and leads to a lot of resentment, and oftentimes leads to a lot of misogyny, and quite frankly leads to a lot of loneliness and depression. And then you become vulnerable to a lot of bad stuff. And I hate to say it, there's a lot of alt-right thinking in these communities. And the ironic part is a lot of these dudes talk like they know a bunch of stuff and are just not getting laid, and they're lonely, and they have all this knowledge, but they misapply it, and they don't use it for good reasons. And I hate to say it. No, I don't hate to say it. I take it back. I love to say that women are a lot more perceptive than the seduction community gives them credit for. And they can smell when you have bad intentions, when you have an agenda. And so a lot of these guys, no matter what they did, no matter how good their technique was, women were picking up on it. And they could feel like, this guy's too slick, or this guy's trying to get something out of me. This guy's not genuine. He's not really respecting me. He's just saying lines. And when all you do is saying lines, it's clear that you're not respecting the women that you're talking to. I was lucky that I recognized that fairly early. I'd like to think I would never go down that road, but I kind of already did before I even got into it. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know the names of the techniques and stuff. But I've done a lot of things that I'm not proud of. And while I can say that ultimately I had a good experience being a part of the seduction community, I gotta say, there's a lot of bad there. And I'm glad that I didn't go fully down that road, and that I didn't let it taint my view, because quite frankly, women are amazing, and they're beautiful, and they're wonderful, and they have so much to give and so much to offer. And it's great to have confidence, but if you see women as objects, you are missing out on the best parts of life. So I would not discourage anybody from trying to learn pickup and trying to learn seduction. But what I would say is, make sure that you have a good moral compass going into it. So think learn to be vulnerable. Well, it was a cool trip down memory lane. And what I would think about is, think about, what are your reasons for doing this? Think about why you want to become good at picking up women. Are they good reasons? Are they reasons that truly resonate with your soul? Are they honorable? Are they morally good? If not, you shouldn't do it. What can we learn from this? Well, I think we need to learn how important confidence really is and how many good dudes there really are out there who are just frustrated and just want to meet a girl and be happy. And to encourage that, to not make them feel like they're, I don't know, sleazy for just trying to improve themselves and trying to meet people and trying to connect. It's not wrong. The desires that led you to the seduction community are not wrong. But in terms of vulnerability, maybe there are issues within ourselves that are leading us here that are unresolved and need to be fixed. Maybe there were some childhood traumas that we're trying to use women to fill the void with. Maybe the way that we've been taught to talk to people and approach people are wrong or outdated or just not helpful. Maybe our whole life we've been doing things one way and we should have been doing things another way. And being able to say, I've been talking to women wrong, that's important. It needs to be said. And being able to say, especially, I have been viewing women wrong. I have been thinking about them wrong. I have not been giving them the care and love and respect that I should have been doing. I've been objectifying them. That's wrong. And if you are entering into the seduction community to try to increase your objectification of women, I would hope you do not go down that road and you take some time for self-reflection and you realize women do not solve all your problems. And in fact, they can add to them. Not because they're natural womanliness. It's because they're people too, and they have their own hangups, and they have their own problems, and they have their own issues that need to get solved. But neither one of you is going to solve those issues if you keep thinking of each other as objects.